Good morning, if it's morning where you are. Um, y'all give me a second because I usually use my tablet or my phone, and I am using I'm using one of the laptops. So I actually don't know if the audio is working or not. Um, if can someone maybe plop a one in the chat if you can hear me? Okay, don't see any ones. Hold on, y'all. I don't want to do a brown eye where it's all ghetto and nobody can hear anything. Definitely not trying to do that, but that might be how it's starting. Okay, I see a one. Thank you so much. All right, and greetings. I don't know if people want to be anonymous, people who are here want to be anonymous, or if you want to be acknowledged. So since I don't know, I'm just going to thank you for being here, but not necessarily say your name. And anyone who catches this later, because I realize this is during the workday, that, you know, I just felt the need there's a lot of stuff going on. And I just felt the need today to create a town hall to address some things that I am concerned about. And so thank you for being here. Essentially, I'm going to take a little time first to just kind of share a bit who I am, some context about what I perceive as some information that's important about this space and the people in it, and then just kind of address some what I think are some misconceptions about support or supporters and what people stand for, and so forth. And there are some of you who might notice I made you moderators kind of without asking you ahead of time. And so I'm not sure if you don't want to be one, you can just let me know later and I will remove it. So greetings. I go by a lot of times online in various spaces as MGO, which are my initials. It's a shortened version of my first and last name. And I am really here today. Some of you know me from, an online space where we, kind of view content related to people who are homeless or dealing with substance issues or mental health. But some other people who know me, I guess prior to that, a lot of my online presence had to do with a lot of research advocacy, so racial justice and HIV prevention and treatment work and research, disability work, especially in the autism space, also refugee resettlement work. And so that is kind of, I've used the internet to do a lot of advocacy to support different groups, human rights and social justice work. And so people who know me for research work or working with asylum seekers or refugees and immigrants, or working with, schools, Title I schools, or people living in housing projects or in poverty, or people who know me from, speaking out about autism and disability work, they're all kind of different spheres. And there's some people who know me from my books as well. But a couple of years ago, due to increasing illness and just the inability to kind of get around physically as much as I used to be able to, I started frequenting some spaces in the live stream community and YouTube a lot more frequently. And I had been subscribed for quite a long time to Soft White Underbelly. And from there, I discovered a lot of other channels similar to that, or type of interview channels. So I discovered Real Bright didn't exist then. I think actually Atlanta Street Interviews might have been one of the initial ones that I discovered. Shortly after, there were a lot of channels that popped up. Pull Up and Chat, which is actually local to me. I discovered that channel. Later, Real Bright and Uncut, Righteous Monkey, Lost in Phoenix. There used to be a Florida Street Interviews channel. There were kind of a variety of different channels. And so through observing those channels, as someone who's done a lot of work in the community, both volunteer work and also like social services, I was, interested in hearing the stories of different people, what they experienced, what they went through. And so these channels would basically give you a window into the life of someone who was on Skid Row or Atlanta or wherever. And just, maybe they had, grown up in the foster care system or had been abused or had been recently released from incarceration or whatever their story was. And they would share their stories and what they, to kind of help educate others. And a lot of times, a lot of the viewers would come together and try to find ways to help these people, because the people who were showcasing their lives were not in social work. They're not in like community navigation type of work. And so they were typically not able to say, oh, well, let me connect you with mental health services, with rehab, with housing, with all of these things. But by sharing their story on a wider platform, other people who had those kind of resources, or maybe just wanted to help with funds, purchase some groceries, get them a hotel room for the night, share about homeless shelters in their area or job openings or things like that. People did that. And so I became a lot more active in that space as I was on a leave of absence from work due to illness. And again, I wasn't able frankly, mobility was a challenge for me. I was having a lot of chronic pain, some new diagnoses and illnesses, and not really able to go out and be out and about as much. I used to travel pretty frequently, do a lot of public speaking in different states and countries. And now I really wasn't even able to leave my bed a lot of the time. And so I became very active observing these channels, and a number of us came together to help give to these interviewees. And to just talk, and also channels arose, reaction channels that discussed things that happened on these channels, discussed the interviewees, discussed issues that came up from their interviews. And then there were also people who were interested in discussing the people conducting the interviews themselves and diving into their lives. That was never really my area of interest. Frankly, all humans have their vices as well as their, they're good parts to them. And I really don't care. I mean, unless it's something that's really egregious, I wasn't interested in who people are dating or things they're doing, unless they're doing something that's harmful to others or what have you. And so this space, which once was kind of a community of people coming together because they were concerned about issues related to those who were in the streets, became a place where people started to feud with each other, fight with each other, dox each other, harass each other, and not just content creators, also subscribers and interviewees. And that was never what this community was supposed to be about, but that's what it became. And some of it is because we had some people who came into the sector from places online where that's what they did. They were about arguing and starting drama for views. And that was what it was all about. But that was never really what this community was supposed to be, but that's what it became. And so essentially, I apologize, y'all. I'm really tired, and I just did this spontaneously, but I probably should have made some notes or something. But anyway, different content creators, and basically there became these different quote unquote camps and groups that, kind of developed in these spaces where people had feelings, one way or another, negative or positive, about different content creators and different interviewees. And so I want to kind of share some things about with all of these channels. I guess as people have initially, I think these channels were somewhat faceless. It was really about, hey, let's learn about the people they're interviewing. But with all of these channels, they eventually we came to see that people were sharing. People got into the lives of the viewers themselves. So with Mark, for example, from Soft White Underbelly, we learned that he started dating the 19-year-old daughter of one of his interviewees, who had a 1-year-old child, and moved her into an apartment and was dating her. And she, I believe last year, died of a cocaine overdose. He also has been rumored to have interactions with various other interviewees, and maybe buying them hotel rooms or trying to help them. And then, one channel, Pull Up and Chat, actually got shut down because a lot of the people that he interviewed were in commercial sex work and so forth. And so that channel was viewed by YouTube to violate its guidelines. Another channel, another street channel, one of the interviewers was discovered to still be struggling with his own sobriety while he was talking about, trying to help people, gain sobriety. And then others still, another one has been rumored to engage in illicit substance distribution with some of his interviewees, and to kind of pit them against each other. And then yet another Marcus Street, Atlanta Street interviews. People have shared a lot of stuff about his sex life, former interviewees that he's dated, and other things. And then there's been some recent, he's ventured into some other things that people have discussed a great deal. Let me get away from that and just kind of make this clear. I am a subscriber. I don't consider myself a content creator, although I have been developing more content kind of, specific to my interest, which is highlighting everyday advocacy and people's stories. But within this space, I am not a reaction channel. I might engage on panels or on chats about topics that I find interesting, but I am not a reaction channel. I am not here to delve into the nuts and bolts of what happens in these spaces. That's just not really how I operate. But again, people can do that. That is fine. That's their prerogative. But as a subscriber, it is not my place. Or my, nor have I to be either endorsing any particular activities of anyone or condemning them. There's many people who can do that. I have my views, but I'm really out here now feeling like for the umpteenth time that I'm having to defend my name because I am a person with a developmental disability. I'm autistic. I also have ADHD, and I have some other physical disabilities as well. My communication style is different than others. So I'm not concise. As you can see here, I've been talking for 17 minutes, probably haven't really made a point yet. It takes me a long time to get to say what I want to say. I don't always read social cues in terms of what people think should be appropriate to say or what should not. And I really just examine things from my own lens. It is never my intention to harm or hurt anybody. I don't really know many of you, and I don't really, frankly, not in a mean way, but care enough about you to want to take you down or talk badly about you or, gossip or whatever. That's just not how I operate. I'm just not interested in that. And I just really don't work that way. But I'm not a pushover. Like I am still a person who will defend myself. If I am attacked, if my name is slandered, if I'm treated poorly, I will, yes, absolutely. I might ignore you initially, but I will clap back because I should, And so in this space, I have been accused of doing things that I have never done. Of doing harmful things to people, like basically my work, which has been essentially just trying to help out interviewees or share their stories or just engage with other people in this space. I have been accused of having inappropriate sexual relationships with interviewees. I've been accused of doing of tax fraud, of trying to steal, kidnap children, of all kinds of horrible things by specific content creators in this space who have issues with me. The majority of my online presence throughout my entire adult life, I generally don't have problems with people. There are only a few specific people, and I'll go ahead and name them, not to cause problems, just again to clear my name. Sheena Speaks, Brown Eye Reacts, King of Commentary 2, and the person who used to call himself Kiki Prime Baby. Those 4 individuals have, created problems, harassed, and lied on me for no reason. Most of them have gone their own way and are not doing so any longer. Brown Eye Reacts 2 continues to do so. And so I am here, but also Sheena Speaks has as well. And so I want to make this clear. I am a neutral person who observes lots of different things on the internet, and my presence there is me doing just that, observing. You know what I mean? And I'm interested and I engage. But I want to say this: don't speak for me or say what I support or don't support. I've been deemed a Marcus supporter. I'm not anti-Marcus. So if you want to call me a Marcus supporter, fine. If what you mean by a Marcus supporter is that A, I have no problem with him, he has no problem with me. B, I have been following his content, his channel, and Atlanta Street interviews for a long time, and I have engaged with and tried to help a number of different interviewees, and still find interest in a lot of these interviews. I have never been interested in Marcus's personal life. Like, for example, there was a time when he had a channel, I think he might still have it, I think Marcus in Real Life. And that was him, a channel of him and his daughters. It was probably a wholesome channel. There was nothing wrong with it, but I was not subscribed and I didn't watch it. Not because I have a problem with him. It just wasn't my interest. My interest is, again, the content related to interviewees. And so similarly, he has launched he launched a Patreon some time ago, a few months ago, and has recently launched a channel called Now Back to the Content, and also a channel that has quote unquote spicy content or more adult or explicit content. I am not subscribed and don't plan to be subscribed to that. And that's his business. He can do those things. I personally am not interested. So I want to make this clear. I am a person who believes that I don't believe in demonizing people, nor I believe in putting them on pedestals. There's some people who think Marcus can do no wrong because he's helping all the interviews. He's the most wonderful person on earth. And Marcus himself will tell you that he is a human like anyone else and has flaws. But I have been watching him long enough to see the people who have been helped, to see the dad that got custody of his child again, to see the person who was able to reunite with their adult child with mental health challenges who had disappeared, to see the college student who was enrolled, to see the mom get a job, to see these things. Sometimes maybe he wasn't the one necessarily to do it. Maybe there were people in the community, observers, subscribers, organizations that stepped in, but that was all facilitated by his channel, him being there. And I want to share something, a personal encounter that I've had with Marcus, because there is an interviewee. So I've helped several interviewees. No one would have known. Let me back up a little. I have helped several interviewees, not just Atlanta Street interviewees, but others. I have a nonprofit, and that's what nonprofits do. They help people, but it's typically done in a discreet way. So I have helped several interviewees from this very channel, including some that you all know. The only reason anyone knows about any of the people that I have helped is because one of the interviewees was grateful. And so he mentioned it aloud on his channel. And he also shared it with Marcus on the live stream. So it was shared as my name was shared, as well as other people who had helped with other resources. That's how it came to be. I never said, hey, that girl that y'all saw in a video in 2023, I've paid 30 days of her hotel room. Hey, that little boy, that runaway, blah, 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 who was in foster care. I paid for his plane ticket to reunite with his family. Do you know this family? I've done this for them. I purchased groceries. And I've never said that. And I would have never said, hey, I'm helping Vaughn and his children. Because that's just not, I just don't believe in publicizing the things that I do for people. But because he shared it, and there's nothing wrong with him sharing that. I'm glad that he did so. He shouldn't feel censored. Because he shared it, it came to pass. So then these narratives were spread by people that I was trying to move him here with my family and have coerce him into sexual favors for housing and all these other horrible things that were spread on my name. And all of these and then I want to share a little story about Marcus, though. Give me a second to drink some water. My mouth is dry. Sorry, y'all. So my organization, again, has helped and is still helping numerous interviewees that you all, again, some that you all know. I'm not going to mention who they are because their privacy, they they should have their privacy. Even Vaughn should have his own privacy. But since people are, again, so much in his business, yes, my organization has helped him extensively and is glad to, and his children, and again, as others, and as well as people who are not interviewees, who are just people in the community, because again, that's what we do. That's the reason I don't take a salary from my work, even though I work full time, because I care about the money that I gain, either my grants or my subcontracted work or donations, pouring it all right back into helping the people. If I take a salary, although the work that I do is extensive and is, 6 figures worthy, then where would be the money to help the people? So I don't take a salary. So again, I'm helping this person and other people. There was a time, approximately, let's see, it was several months ago, maybe 6 or 7 months ago. I think it was actually longer than that, actually. I had reached Marcus at one time wanted to do a baby shower, like a kind of a baby shower for Vaughn and his twins, just like he did for Tone and Ileana. And it never transpired. And so later we decided to do something else, kind of like a housewarming for the family. In speaking privately with Marcus, Marcus knew that because Vaughn's story was no longer in the trajectory, like all of these interviewees have their time where they're in the limelight, where it's Josias, and then it's Chris, and then it's the other Chris, and then it's, whomever. Everybody has their time. There was Tony and Ileana, and now they're back. Now it's Polo and Feisty. They all kind of cycle through. So Vaughn, as he had relocated out of Atlanta, he was not really in the algorithm as much anymore. And so Marcus knew that this was not going to gain him many views nor any money. This is something he chose to do for his own, just for altruistic purposes, knowing again that he was going to be devoting 2 or more hours that he could be, editing or doing a live stream or sharing content or doing something that would gain him some type of financial benefit. He chose to bypass that so that we could engage with the community, give them an update on Vaughn and the children, and obtain funds for, to try to help. And so we are grateful that we had people who did tune in to that live stream and watch. And we are grateful that nearly $700 were obtained from the community, from people's different donations, all of which are tax deductible. And my organization, again, did match every one of those donations. And as I mentioned, we've been helping the family and other families with amounts of money much larger than that. But we wanted people to be able to pour in and help on their own. So I want to explain that this man, again, he's not perfect. He's done some things that I personally, for my standards and my morals, I'm not, crazy about. But he didn't hesitate to say, screw the money. Let's help this dude. You know what I mean? Let's help him. Let's do what I need to do. I'm happy to use my platform for that purpose. And yet, so at any moment, there will be 1,000 people or 1,100 people in Marcus's chat for a live stream, 20-something thousand views on a video when it's about some drama. But when it's about something positive and someone being helped, someone getting an apartment, someone getting a job, someone enrolling in college, someone becoming sober, someone having housing, people aren't interested in that. And so I just want to say this. It is ridiculous to say that I'm quote unquote using my assistance for a tax break or tax write-off. Nonprofit organizations do not pay taxes. You cannot get a tax write-off, and your personal taxes are completely different from your organizational taxes. So that is completely untrue. Nonprofit organizations get external audits by independent forensic audits from accountants who look into the way all of your funds are used. Because again, you are an IRS 501, C3, a nonprofit organization. So there's guidelines. Nonprofit organizations are required to have a board of directors that dictate provide governance. So this talk that I'm doing something that I would just jeopardize my life's work for $700 or for a sexual relationship with someone that is merely a platonic friend is ridiculous. But moving away from me, I want to say that people are being attacked. So people are saying, oh, you all are support the 18-year-old or the spicy content or this, that, and the other. You all are expecting regular everyday people, subscribers, just watching something on YouTube like it's our TV, like it's entertainment, to be weighing in on all of these different things and providing judgment calls when that's not our role. That's the role of you content creators, you reaction channels. The rest of us, you can't assume how we feel. You can't say, oh, you support that, you endorse that. I actually do not. But you can't say that that's how I feel or anyone feels because we have not expressed it the way that you want it to be expressed. We have not handled it the way you want it to be handled. And so really, I just feel like things are starting to get out of hand in this sector. They have before and they are again, where it became all about drama and fighting and attacking people and creating narratives. And I just find that to be very problematic. And again, people don't have to like one another. None of you have to like me. You don't even know me, so it's fine, but I think we should all treat other human beings with respect unless we've been given reason not to. And I think we should give people the benefit of the doubt instead of assuming, oh, they're in such and such's pocket. Oh, they're scared to say something. They're kissing this person's butt. They agree all of those types of things, instead of, why don't you ask the person how they feel? Why don't you give them a chance to share instead of making an assumption that because they did not flip-flop and join a hate train when they were previously someone's biggest supporter for over a year and a half, that just because they're not doing that doesn't mean that they think everything is, kosher. So again, if someone wants to label me a Marcus supporter, label me one. He has never harmed me. He's never done anything too problematic to me or to my family. And I enjoy his content and his work. There are things that he does that I'm, again, not enamored with. If you want to have a personal conversation with me about that, I'm happy to share. But just because I'm not publicly, crucifying someone doesn't mean that I am necessarily in favor of all of their actions. Similarly, when it comes to Real, Right, and Uncut, I have a major concern with how that person is using their platform to is weaponizing their platform to try to trigger a relapse or harm a smaller content creator who was one of their former interviewees. I think that that's distasteful, unethical, and just it's bullying, and I find it very shameful. I'm going to see if I can drop a link if anybody wants to kind of come up here and talk. I'm sorry, y'all. The way I had this in my head versus the way it's kind of rolling out today is not the same. I kind of had an idea of how I wanted to do this, and it's just really disjointed, y'all, and I'm sorry. But anyway, I am dropping a StreamYard link. If I don't pay for StreamYard because it's a free StreamYard. So I think only 6 people can come up or whatever with the free one. If anyone wants to come up, I ask that you be respectful. Despite the fact that the 4 content creators that I mentioned to you all slandered my name, lied on me, harassed me, created a lot of problems for me, not just on YouTube, but in my personal life, and tried to create problems for my livelihood, I have not slandered them here. I could say all kinds of things about these people. All kinds of things about them, but that's not what this is about. So basically, I just want us to get it together in the sector. You don't have to like everyone. You can in fact, strongly dislike certain people. But can we get back to talking about what matters, the content and interesting things, and not presuming people's health status and presuming things about people that we don't know about, and can we also make these chats a comfortable place for subscribers? Because a lot of people share the same subscribers. A lot of content creators, a lot of subscribers go from chat to chat to chat. We all share the same subscribers. The same people who watch Marcus, watch Sitting on Satellites, watch According to Ally, watch Vibes Queen, watch Troy's World, watch Bishop, watch Sunny, watch all kinds of people. This is just the nature of this sector. There's like a lot of cross subscribing. And so by people attacking someone or making them feel uncomfortable or making accusations or accusing them of being disloyal because you saw them in another person's chat, if they were in the chat and not saying anything bad or harmful, then let them be in the freaking chat. Why do you care? Who is it harming you for them to be there? I don't know. Again, thank you for those of you who are coming by. I just want again to and thank you for those of you in the chat. VQ is actually .org, but thank you. But let me show this this StreamYard link again. Hopefully, it's showing on the chat on the screen for y'all. And also, let me copy it. If anyone wants to come up and share their thoughts, and again, I apologize, y'all, again, if this is kind of a little sort of out there and not really as organized as I hoped for it to be. But I just think that we need, I feel like sort of a come to Jesus moment about the way things are going in this sector. It's just kind of ridiculous, in my opinion, the way things have been, are going lately, and we can and should do better. And while I see, let me just create, I hope it's not problematic for you all. Oh, thank you, YouTube cameras, for sending some people here. I just want to greet some people. I think I said earlier I would keep y'all anonymous, but I hope you don't mind because I think your names show up in YouTube anyway. So let me just scroll to the top. And thank you, VQ, so much. Choice World, Miss Wanda from Makeover Mondays. And I encourage you all to follow her channel. Patricia Alexander, Golden Signatures, Lotus Flower Bomb, Bishop Low IRL. think I mentioned, let's see. I just don't want to skip anybody. I'm here, 1223, Clarissa Person, Raquel Reality, Butterfly Empress, Life of Grandma, RNY. Thank you. I really enjoyed yesterday's panel as well. Let me just see. Again, y'all give me Four Gifted Hands, Cheryl, Lynn in Georgia 1. Solid Sunny. Hey, Sunny. Good to see you. Drea, thank you for being here. Danny M. And yes, so basically, okay, so I think, thank you so much. So I don't see anyone coming up, which is totally fine. I just wanted to give you all, and thank you again, Sally O'Malley, and YTC, thank you for sending people here. I appreciate it. This is a sector I've been involved in for, again, since I haven't been in it as long as some other people. I think I have been involved in the sector since 2020, either early 2024, I believe. I think some people were involved in 2023 or maybe 2022 when Marcus started sharing. I think I've been watching Marcus's content since 2022. But essentially, stop attacking subscribers. Stop assuming what people what people think or don't think. Let us speak for ourselves. You can, if you are subscribed to the Spicy Content channel and you're watching it and you have thoughts on it, then you speak on it. Don't drag the rest of us in that. Don't attack us. Yeah, sure, you can come on up if you like. I really just wanted to give people a place because I feel like I'm not the only one who just starts feeling like, well, why do like you just don't even want to engage in a chat. If people are going to be attacking you, putting your name in, Sonny, you wouldn't mess anything up. Putting your name in titles, or accusing you of colluding behind the scenes with content creators, or anything like that. I just feel like ultimately most of us came into this sector because we care about what's happening to people. We care about it. It's interesting. And yeah, there's sort of a soap opera type of element to it, reality channel element to it that has kind of developed. Yes, that's true. And that's okay. And everybody's different. So like I said, my passion is to give and to serve, and I can't do everything. I'm just one person. So there's a lot of need that I will never meet. But that's just my interest. But that doesn't mean someone who just watches and hits the like and doesn't give, they could still give input to the interviewees. They could still give, some type of resources or support, or just, sometimes just a comment, letting people know that you care about their story and what they've been through. Those things matter a lot to the interviewees too. But dogging them, calling them names, some of the horrible things that Brown Eye Reacts says about interviewees and says about subscribers is just really disgusting and uncalled for. And some people just seem, and some of the rumors that are also shared, that are spread about these creators, we don't have to make up rumors about the interviewers. If you want to talk about their lives and what you know about them, there's enough without kind of, creating things that are not there, like some people have done. And I just feel like we should just do better, as a sector. So, let me put the link up here again. If no one joins, that's okay. I may just, I'll see if, I know a few people might come up. If you don't, again, that's fine. I just wanted to open the floor for anyone who wants to say anything, in general, or speak their piece. You could also do so in the comments later, anyone who's here now or who catches the replay. I'm going to just make this explicitly clear. I have not engaged inappropriately with any, I'll go ahead and put a name on it, since Brown Eye, Sheena Speaks, have been telling lies about me. I have helped numerous interviewees, but again, one that you all know is ATV Vaughn. I have assisted his family. My organization has. We are glad to have assisted the family. This is a single father. And a single father who was formerly homeless. and who chose to relocate to have a new start for himself and his family. And there were no strings attached. No one took the children away from their birth mother. Their birth mother has opted not to be in her children's lives because of her own issues. No one, hey, D30. No one has taken the children away from their birth mother. No one is promoting negative activities. No one has tried to swindle Fabrielle or Ileana out of their babies. No one has used homeless people for tax evasions. No one has lied to interviewees, to donors, to just some of the sick and ridiculous things that have been shared, have been said are really ridiculous. In the YouTube space, I'm not a well-known person, and that's intentional. I'm just a regular subscriber. I like that. Just being just a regular person. But in my real world, and most of my adult life, I'm a contributing author to 12 different books, to about 30 something or 40 something research articles. I have been involved in advocacy in a number of areas my entire life, my adult life. I've spoken at the United Nations, the White House. I've been on the BBC. I've been in Times Magazine. I've been in the New York Times. I've been on NPR, PBS. That's myself and my work. I am not like a celebrity. Again, I'm just a researcher and an advocate and a writer, but I'm not trying to, quote unquote, get clout from some sector. That's not how I work. That's not my area of interest. That's not my passion. I'm just here to watch and enjoy myself and engage with other people. And when opportunity permits itself, to help people. That's it and that's all. There's no reason to make up stories about me. If you don't say anything bad to me, I will never say anything bad to you, because that's not how I operate. I'm not a negative person. I don't try to harm people or say bad things about them or anything like that. If you say something bad about me, oh yeah, I'm coming straight for you, all the way for you. You know what I mean? With a quickness. But if you are respectful to me or leave me alone or whatever, that's fine. If you think I talk too much, my voice is annoying, I'm too long-winded, blah, 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 cool. Don't watch. It's fine. But to spread lies about what I like, what I don't like, it's just wrong. So now at this point, I feel like I'm just rambling. So I'm just going to see, again, I'm just looking in the backstage. Let's see if anyone comes up. And so maybe in the future, someone who is more versed at hosting things can host a town hall, and it might be more interactive than the one I'm doing. So y'all just bear with me. Again, thank you for this being a bit disjointed. I just really wanted to speak up for myself, to say that I'm a, quote, fake diva. Okay, so let me also address some of the lies of Brown Eye that he said about me. So I don't think it's appropriate to be making discriminatory comments about my background. Yes, I am of African descent. I was born in the United States to parents who came here for college. And I was raised to have major reverence and love for the Black community. Black Americans are the reason that my family is able to be here. So it's the reason why a lot of immigrants are able to be here. The contributions that they made to this country, building this country, up today. And my mother actually wanted to major. Hey. Well, thank you for being here. Wanted to double major in what was then called Black American Studies or Afro-American Studies. And so I was raised knowing about Toni Morrison.
I don't know if y'all can hear me or not, but I can't hear you. I don't want to mess up your show, though, so I could drop down.
Okay, I hear you. But can you hear us? You might need to drop and come back, because I don't think you can hear us, but we can hear you. But to say discriminatory things about my background, saying from the Bunga tribe and all these, and African booty structure and all of these different things that you've said and the Sheena have said, I'm proud of my background. There's no such thing as an Umbunga tribe, but I'm proud of being Yoruba and Cabo Verdeano. I'm also proud of being a person in America. I'm proud of the contributions of the blood, sweat, and tears of the people who built this country and are still building this country. And I was raised to, to think that people like Shirley Chisholm and Coretta Scott King and all of these different wonderful, leaders, male and female. I was raised to revere what they do, and to and so I also think that so that is unfair. That's unfair to say to me, to say discriminatory things about me being having autism is unfair. There's nothing wrong with having autism. It's just a different way of having a different brain. To make discriminatory comments about my nonprofit organization, or say that everything, all of this stuff can be looked up. Any nonprofit organization, everything about it is on the internet. So if a person was doing something illegal or unethical, you could find it. So I think that just the things that he says are very unkind, inappropriate. Again, he doesn't have to like me, but why are you in chats when no one is saying anything about me or talking to me, just choosing to just mention me and say all this rude and cruel things over and over about me? And then, why would you do that? What is it? What's the gain? If I don't like someone, I just don't speak about them again, unless they come for me. But Sonny, I didn't add you to the stage. I'm sorry. Hey, you're here.
Girl, oh shit. My bad. I was on mute.
It's okay.
Girl. Good morning.
Morning. Thanks for coming up. I guess, what are your thoughts? Because you've been in the street sector almost since it had a name as a sector. What are your thoughts about all these things?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like when it's good, it's good. And when it's like full of chaos, it's full of chaos, I do want to say that I think that you should stop saying anything about your autism. Not saying that you need to like it's a problem, but MGO, by talking to you, I swear, nobody gets that. Nobody thinks that oh, she has autism. You are a very smart woman. You do realize that, right?
I mean, I am highly gifted, but I say it because I think that people think I'm trying to be sarcastic or rude or know it all. And when in reality, I just start info dumping and don't know when to stop. And so I say it so that when people may get the idea that I'm trying to, hint at something that I'm not, that's so that they kind of maybe have some understanding that that's not what I'm trying to do, that I'm not trying to make them feel any kind of way or come off any kind of way.
Yeah, well, I think you're a very smart woman, probably one of the smartest women I know. You're very I don't know, just your whole aura, you're a good person, you know what I'm saying? So anybody that's saying anything negative about you is because they're threatened. They're mad because they're not you,
Thank you. I appreciate that so
welcome.
much. Yeah. And so I just, I thank y'all for, the comments that y'all are having in the chat too, and just the things that y'all are sharing. I really do appreciate it. Oh boy. I just hope things improve, because I just feel I'm starting to see, it just feels like we're going back to the way it was in summer 2024 and fall 2024, when it just really all went to hell. It feels like it's getting there.
It does. It really does. I think because people are so pressed for content to keep their channels going that they're not, And I'm not saying I'm not talking about nobody specific. I'm just saying in general, that's what happens.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that is happening. And I think it's creating problems for all of us. And ultimately, we all have our own lane. Like if someone, doesn't like something or is not interested, I don't watch channels where I don't like the content or the person. I just stay away. But I just don't really see the point of coming at people, lying on people, accusing them of things that are untrue. I don't see how that gets us anywhere. When I think about the fact that my own child had to stop, following me because of me having to go back and forth online, or people reaching out, to try to make complaints. about things, like people can, again, my organization is completely in good standing. So you can contact the BBB, you can contact the IRS, you can do whatever you want. It's not going to harm anything. I'm not doing anything, you know what I mean? So I am who I say I am. So nothing, I'm not afraid of anything, but I just really feel like this is so negative and sad. Like, just let us watch stuff and let us do things for people and help folks if that's what we're here to do. Just watch if that's what we're here to do. I think that that's the case, but the flip-flopping and the tearing people down, I think that it is, and actually this comment it seems similar to what you said, Sunny, about people will use something about us against us. And so I think that is true. And I think that is something I, do need to be
not to
mindful
say like, I just want you, you know what I'm saying? Because people use that shit in a negative way and try to attack you or try to make it seem like you're dumb or like you know what I'm saying, which you're not. But it's just really ignorant. It's a lot of ignorant assholes on this app. I'm sorry. But it's a lot of ignorant people on this app, you know what I'm saying? And someone like you don't deserve that. You know what I'm saying? You're not even the type of person to even want to go back and forth like that. So,
Yes, exactly. It's not my style at all. And so, I don't know. I guess a lot of people are very miserable. And I think maybe being keyboard warriors is something that some people enjoy. There's a question here. And Chad, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Your analysis of Gabby. People kept hyping her up as being rational and above the BS, but it was proven by Marcus that that's not the case, that she's not right. So, Danny, my thoughts are, when we first started seeing Gabby, initially, she just seemed like she was struggling, but I'm not knocking anyone who, so I guess to me, sometimes when someone is dating someone significantly older than them, it makes me wonder, is it just that's their preference or are there daddy issues or, so I wondered that element of things. So she, but at first it just seemed like she just had, she just really like maybe homelessness was her main issue. But in time, she just started saying things that made me think that she was having some, issues with her mental health. And there are a number of people who in their early 20s, the onset of things like schizophrenia and certain things kind of start to rear their head. And so some of the things that she shared made me wonder if that, and sometimes it can be induced by, alcohol consumption or substance use. So I feel like she has potential, but she's just not, she's struggling. She's not really there. And she's not really
she needs
settled.
a little guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just needs and I think I get Marcus is helping, but I think she needs like an older woman's guidance, like someone that's, not there to take advantage of her and really like,
Yeah. I think that I think a lot of people are struggling and they're not really, the people that they have surrounding them are not necessarily the best people that they should have surrounding them. And so because of that, they don't really, it's kind of like the blind leading the blind.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then Danny mentions even stealing the wig shows instability. It does.
That's true. So she did steal a wig.
Yeah. And she's been in and out of jail lately. And that also can create problems too. You know what I mean? So, and then, yes, she seemed like she was on something. Like you said, yes, Danny, she seemed very drunk in the last interview before she got locked up. And then just, she seemed to me like I don't know if she's popping pills, but just something seemed amiss with her.
She could have been, what's it called? Laced. It's a lot of people out here that get laced and they act totally different after, and she may not realize it because she do kind of look, a little off, not to be rude.
Yeah, I guess so. Danny, you're saying you don't see the potential. I guess what I'm saying is I think I see the potential for better because she's still young. And she isn't in a situation where she has others to care for. She doesn't have children. She's, I see your point, giving her too much credit. She's not a child. No, she's responsible for her own actions. But I guess I just feel like every day that we live is an opportunity to maybe make a different choice.
I agree.
But it doesn't mean that I don't think she's accountable. I think she isn't accountable for her actions or that she isn't, she has issues. I think that she might not, because of the fact that some people, what's going on with them is so overt, like Shaniqua, or, some of these people that is so obvious that I think the ones where it's maybe a little more subtle, people might feel like, oh, okay, well, this
be
person's
more critical, be more
yeah,
harsher. Yeah.
yeah. But really, it's just that I think that we just haven't, she's been locked up. We just haven't been able to see her. And even some of the things that Polo's mom was mentioning about when she was out there, she went out there and kind of didn't seem like she really was getting her stuff together there either. And I think that, we need to keep in mind that there's a lot of resources in Atlanta. I know there are not as many as people think. Like, people will always be like, oh, just get some housing. The housing lists are closed, have been for years. Like, so you can't get on, but there are shelters, there are programs. Sometimes people just don't want to follow the rules of that are in these shelters, or,
Every time you say that, I think about when I got kicked out the shelters, because I've been kicked out of multiple because I didn't follow the rules. And it wasn't like fighting or not cleaning, and nothing. It had to do with curfew. There's definitely a curfew when it comes to shelters. And at the time, I went to teen shelters, so they were very strict on that.
Yes. And I think there's a lot of problems with the shelter system in North America in general. To have someone have to get in a line at night, usually around people who, it might be unsafe, to keep your spot. And then you have to be out by the morning and stay out all day. And then, some of the restrictions that they have, like, there are some people who come in maybe with a job, but you're not allowed to work for the first 30 days or 90 days in certain programs. Or if some of them, you can only stay a certain amount of days. If you don't have your ID, you need to leave. Well, a lot of people if you're homeless, you typically don't have an ID, things get stolen or you lose things, so I think that a lot of these programs too they're not necessarily ideal. Programs. They don't really understand. They don't all have the wraparound services that people need, intensive mental health services, or that people need to kind of get on their feet. But it's the system that we have,
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I know recently they told me, for me to get put on the housing list quickly, I would have to stay in the shelter down here or something like that. But I refuse to do that. Not with my kids. I'm not. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think to go from a home where they're comfortable and cared for into the shelter system would be pretty traumatizing for your children. They're in a 3-story home and, they have family around them, they're in school, and to kind of be in a setting, again, if people have their circumstances, they do what they have to do. But I feel like those are supposed to be kind of like last ditch options for people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard Donald Trump is cutting off a lot of resources in certain states too. So
yes, a lot of resources for veterans, a lot of resources for mental health, for disabilities. A lot of these things are being cut, and that's going to create problems. We already don't have enough services for people in this country to begin with. And so that's a major concern also. I think that we could potentially see an increase of people on the streets. And, we just don't have a lot, there's a lot going on. And that's why I think that's another reason why it's important to have these types of channels, because, where people can see what's going on with people, because maybe they might want to get involved in their community sometimes. They might want to, donate to a clothing shelter or a food shelter, or, or find a way to mentor someone. Like a lot of these programs, a lot of, like, for example, homeless shelters, they often have after school programs or school programs. Sometimes they want people to come in and do, read, story time, read to the children, or bring desserts, or host a puppet show, or, song, time, or pay, sponsor a field trip for, like maybe pay for, museum entry, for a lot of these programs don't really have much funding. So there's so much that a person can do. Like I know you mentioned you recently donated some clothes, for some of the women, because a lot of the time, first of all, a lot of these programs just because a person's homeless doesn't mean they want to look like trash. You know,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? If there's something somewhat stylish or cute or that fits them, like someone's very petite or very curvy or whatever, sometimes there's stuff that you can't find that fits you.
Or they're a little younger age.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're younger, and then the clothes, you know, make you look like you're somebody's grandma. You know, and then the children's shoes, you know, shoes that fit or whatever, toys that are things that are clean. And so I guess that's something that I would advise people when you're donating something. Just because a person's down and out doesn't mean they would want the same thing you want.
They don't want no hand-me-down looking stuff.
Yeah, to give things that are gently used or in good condition. Like if it's something that should basically be a rag, don't give it to the people. Don't donate that. Same thing with food. Don't donate some food that's expired, some expired cans, you know, canned goods and things like that. Give people, you know, don't do that. Like just don't, it'd be better not to give it all than to give something like that to someone.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? I was taught, like, you know, it's some people out here that do prefer to be homeless. Some people are just comfortable, like, you know, not having to pay rent, not having to like believe it or not, people are comfortable like that.
Yeah, that is true. Some people just not having that pressure on them is something they prefer. Even kind of like this comment says, they put themselves in a situation or don't take the help seriously. And that is true. Sometimes people do have options and they just don't necessarily take advantage of the options that are there for various reasons. You know, it's you know.
Yeah, but you can't make people take help if they don't want it.
That is true.
And then you can't get mad at them for not wanting the help that you're trying to provide.
Yeah, that's true too. You know, it's a lot. You know, I feel like, you know, for me, you know, I've struggled, you know, when I was in an abusive relationship before my marriage, and I spent some time in a shelter, a DV shelter. And so, and for, it was, again, I was grateful to have a roof over my head and air conditioning, but the food, you know, I have certain food allergies. The food was not great. You know what I mean? Like the options, they didn't really have a lot of options. I shared a room with another woman, you know. And
I was just about to say there's no privacy because my kid, while I was pregnant with Noel, I had to stay in the DV shelter. So yeah.
Yeah. And you're supposed to clean, you know, like they're supposed to, there's chores they give you. And so when it was her turn to clean, she didn't want to clean right. You know what I mean? And so I'm thinking, you know, and then she, you know, we were not supposed to have company. She would sneak random dudes in there. I'm thinking everybody here is fleeing from certain situations.
Right.
Why do you think it's safe to bring this random dude in here? You know what I mean? Like, that does not make us feel comfortable. You know what I mean?
That should have been an absolute no. She should have got put the fuck out for doing that because you're putting everybody else's safety at risk.
Yeah. And terrific. Not only we're not allowed to cook our own food, we weren't even allowed to bring in outside food. If people had small children, like if you had a baby that was on formula, you could bring food. So we had some people in there, for example, who were Muslim. And so they were unable to eat sometimes because you mix the food with pork. And so they were just like, okay, I guess you're not going to eat this meal. You know, like they weren't, you know, and again, I know all programs are not like that. Again, I'm grateful for what they had. And then even when you first started, most of us went like 3 or 4 days before we met with a case manager. In those situations, you want to meet with someone immediately. You should have some people on call who can come in and meet with you and just reassure you and kind of, instead of giving you a checklist and a piece of paper and, you know what I mean? And then, you know, it just, and there was a computer room where you could try to apply for jobs, but the internet was very slow. The computers were outdated. They had volunteers in there, but they didn't really know how to help you make a good resume. Like they were using resume templates. You know, it was just, you know, and there was supposed to be like interview training. And so it turned out that we helped ourselves. Like I would have people, hey, let's ask each other questions because they were, you know, there was a clothing closet where you could get like a suit or something to wear for an interview or like a nice dress. But basically, they weren't really preparing people so you can get a job. But you can go to the interview, but if you interview poorly, you're not going to get the job. So it was just really frustrating. Again, I understand that a lot of times they're hiring people like right out of college or whatever. So they don't necessarily always have the right staff in those positions who can help people properly. But it just was really sad to see someone who really wanted to do something, but wasn't necessarily always equipped properly. You know, and that's part of what also why I find this channel appealing, because I know what it's like. You know, I was young in a relationship that was very abusive. I left, came back, left, came back. When I eventually decided to like really leave, I needed to just disappear. And that's where this was supposed to be a haven for me. And to be in there and to feel, unsafe, again, because the girl that I was in there had been in there longer. So she knew there were cameras. There was like a secure opening, but there was this one back fence that the camera where it was situated didn't really capture people. So she had him jump this stone fence, climb a tree, and sneak through the back window into our room. And so, yeah, so for those of us who are leaving, situations for our lives to try to be safer, for me, that was just really discouraging.
You ain't even thinking about the kids. Like that's terrible.
She knew me less than a week and she started leaving her kids with me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, I could have been you don't know me. I could be a child molester. You know what I mean? Like, but I hope she turned out things, worked out better for her. Danny, sometimes I think about that and I really feel like
I can answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, for me, with my baby daddy, why I kept going back is because just that little hope of change. Because it doesn't start off all rocky and people putting their hands on each other, the yelling, the abusiveness. It doesn't start off like that per se. So there is sometimes a little hope, I guess. I don't know if you felt the same way, MGO, but for me, I think that tends to be my issue. It's just like, okay, I think, because I always feel like everybody goes through something. I try to like be understanding of somebody what other that individual might be going through or been through. You know what I'm saying? So I be thinking about hope, that little bit of hope of change. I mean, from my standpoint, I don't know about yours.
That's how it was for me too. Like, because this was someone I had been with since I started off when I was really, when I was young. And he had been through a lot in his life. And I remembered when it was good. And I just believed in him. And, and then I was codependent. You know what I mean? I very much was. Like, at a certain point, like, I felt like I had given up so much for this man and taken so much from him that it would I'm like, no, I'm not going to give in now. Like, this has to work. I gave up a full scholarship for this dude. Yeah. College scholarship, had my pride, just so many things and it didn't start out physically, but it started out emotionally. And then gradually, it just became too much. And eventually I just couldn't do it anymore. Like one day I just broke. I think eventually I just woke up, and I think it took time for me to wake up. I actually, at one point, one of the books that I've written, I love edited collections. And so most of the books I'm a contributor to, as opposed to just having one author, have various chapters where each chapter is written by someone else. And so one of the books that I'm a contributor to, there's a chapter about my surviving, domestic violence. And I've thought about coming online and reading it. It's just really long. I don't know if people want to hear all that, but I think I might
do little segments.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think I might do that because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think that a lot of people, maybe there's someone in a situation and, and especially it can start so gradual abuse, you know what I mean? Like that, and there's so much shame attached to it. And, I was raised that if a guy puts his hand on you once, get out the door. That's what I was told. And that's what I always believed until it was me. And I'm so grateful now to have a husband that's so kind and loving and supportive. He's so different than, it's so different from what I came from. But, it was a very, I understand, the situation that some of these interviewees find themselves in, how it messes you up, how you feel so broken down, sometimes.
I think for me, what gets me like to be over it, I guess, is, another woman. If another woman ends up in the picture, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this motherfucker don't care. This motherfucker's not gonna change, and I just tell like the same thing I'm going through, you're gonna end up going through it too. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like that's what I don't know. It's always like that. I don't know why it has to get that deep for me, but
I think it has to get that way for a lot of people. Like this comment on here. I did not realize how foolish I was. I made so many excuses for this man. I loved this man so much, and he was so bad for me. He was so bad for me.
yes,
Like
and
I wish I could go back to myself and just shake myself and be like,
yes,
wake the freak up. What the heck, you know? And one thing that they do though is they alienate you from people, and sometimes you alienate yourself. Like if your
yes,
friends
you
don't
definitely
want you in
do.
this, you start kind
Yep.
of pulling away from people.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the fact that that they're not going to agree. I didn't tell anybody what was happening. You know what I mean? Like they knew about the cheating and the disrespect and all of that, but they didn't know about the physical abuse. Like he started coming up to my job and doing crazy stuff at my job, and harassing my employees, like my male employees, and all kinds of different stuff. To me, it just really, it got really bad. But I have brothers. My brothers would have tore him apart if they knew what was going on. I didn't say a
Yep.
word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just, and I guess, I've, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of shame. There was, again, the hope that things would be better, that we could, do right. And, and we could, be a success story, but that was never going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess for me, I think I guess a little delusion, because I wanted that perfect, that little family, like and I don't think
Mhm.
my baby daddy was ready for all that. He wasn't ready to sell his royal oaks. So I don't know. I don't know.
I understand. I mean, mine had a baby on me. You know what I mean? And I still
Yep, mine
stayed.
did too, girl. So I get it. Yep.
It's a lot. I don't know. This might be an interesting topic to maybe discuss, that people might be interested in kind of talking about, how people find themselves in these situations. And even I think about you had your mom and dad in the house, you have your dads and your two dads, your two moms. And I have my parents in the home. I didn't grow up seeing abusive family. And
I
yet,
didn't see it from my adopted parents.
okay.
No. I've never seen, they never argued in front of us. They never, but I witnessed my mom go through things with different, like, I'm the oldest, so I've witnessed my mom go through things with all her baby daddies. So, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. For me, I think maybe that's why I felt like, um,
And
you know,
boyfriends too. So,
I don't know why. I guess I just knew him. I knew all that he had been through. He had been mistreated. I was like, this is all he knows. You know what I mean? And he's not gonna, he's not like this. If only, there were just, it really was wishful thinking,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and unrealistic expectations, that I had, and it just, and I think that's part of the reason why now. I, might go so hard to defend myself, because I don't want to, I'm not a yes girl. I'm not a doormat anymore. And so when someone is trying to, lie on me or hurt me or get over on me, it's a trigger, because I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
live that way anymore. I want to live in my truth. I don't want to be silenced. I don't want to be lied on. I don't want to be accused of things I didn't do, because those were things that were used against me, so that this person could continue to have control. And so when people do it, even if it's some random stranger, it's just like, it just goes against everything that I am and everything that I believe, and it's
I don't
just,
like being gaslit.
exactly. And that's very much what it is. There's a lot of gaslighting that occurs, with, to where people are just, lying on others and harming others. And I think that, I don't think people realize how abusive it can be. The online space is the real world. It's not just because we're all here connected through some kind of device. It's still the real world. Harmful things that are said online hurt just like something that somebody might say in person to you. People calling CPS and on you, to harm you, not because they feel like there's really something that, a reason to call, or people trying to, just make up rumors about others or just different things like that, it causes problems. Like we have real world consequences. It's just because someone logs off and they go about their business doesn't mean that hurtful thing that they said or did about you doesn't sting.
It hurts. It hurts a lot. I think for someone like me, I try to be strong, even when I feel like, I try not to be too vulnerable because I feel like people will look at me as I'm weak. So certain stuff that's being done towards me, I try to stand my ground, but it does hurt. It hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we've all been guilty of not handling it the best way. Cause really, like the other day when, Brown Eye was, harassing me for no reason in Troy's chat, I went and I unhid some of the videos where I had told him about himself and she not about herself. I unhid them
He
for
doesn't even have a reason to come at certain people the way he does. It's like he's trying to be seen and he's trying to get people to come to his channel, but no, he's an asshole.
Yeah, he just likes chaos. And I went ahead and just put them back on private. I was like, why? I don't want to be associated with this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not this, if he wants to lie, if people want to go to the chat and believe that without giving me a chance to figure out who I truly am or what really happened, I can say, without question, if there's nothing or there's no one or nothing or no one, if you haven't done something to me first, there's nothing negative I'm going to say about to you or do to you, like anything that it's retaliatory if I choose to go there. But but these, it's just, I don't know, it's very problematic. And I think it takes away from what we could all be doing, like these, important conversations and lessons that we can learn from each other, experiences that people have, like even when people aren't doing right. Like I think about like the Tone and Ileana situation. There's so much to unpack there with her mother and what, and Ileana's life, again, not that I approve of the decision she's making or her, choosing a man over her children or all these types of things, but she's come from the time she was a very little girl, just craziness and instability.
They're doing meth. They are so young.
Yeah, it's very sad. It's very sad. And I just think the children in particular, I thank God for Tone's parents, you know what I mean, that they're standing in the gap. But I would hope that she would want to do better for her two beautiful boys. And that's what concerns me now is that I know that Marcus mentioned that they did spicy content, which I suspected was for money. And then now they're out of money all of a sudden. And it just worries me when you're just newly sober and they've lied about being sober before. That are,
y'all don't have to pay for the hotel. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all got like the money's y'all should be used for food, but damn, where the money go at? We know y'all not buying clothes or toiletries and stuff like that. We know that. So it's kind of just like, there's no need to lie. And it's kind of sad because like you said, there's not a lot of programs or like that they could go, especially, I mean, she did mention she went to what is it, Grady for a week. That's not long enough.
It's not. Like she might need to be on something. They're on meth. They might need to, try to, do some type of inpatient rehab, even if they are trying to hurry up and get an apartment before they lose their voucher or whatever. They still need to prioritize sobriety above all.
Yeah, because it's gonna keep happening. It's a illness. It becomes drugs. That's an addiction. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like they're just gonna want to stop just because they didn't do it in a week. No, they're gonna have that. That's something they're gonna have to deal with for the rest of their life, and they need proper tools to know how to control those. Like for me, like I'm trying to stop drinking or whatever, and for me, stress, me, like that's my triggers, and I'm trying to like find other tools to use to not feel pressured to drink every time like I feel like I can't handle something or like.
And there's so many triggers that people don't realize, that, that sometimes you don't even know, are there until you're faced with them. And so, and that's, I really feel like, their, relationship or marriage is their business, but I think they need time apart. It's very,
Yeah, their relationship, they're not good together. I'm sorry to say it. They need
mhm,
to, it's a trauma bond at this point. That's
yes,
a perfect example of a trauma bond. She
exactly.
didn't slice the man arm up. I know a lot of people be hard on him, talking about, well, he's the man and this, that, and the third. That doesn't mean that, he's not being abused. He's
Yeah,
not.
they're abusive to each other.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Mm, mm, mm. And so I don't know. My hope is, I don't know what will happen or what the future holds, but I think that, I pray that there's a way to, like when Marcus was on VQ's channel the other day, I was asking about if there were ever people who sponsored, like housing or something for some of these people, if there's be a way, to, because I understand this is his job, this is how he gets content. People aren't really interested in, you know, in when people are making positive moves in their lives. But I think some of us are, all of us are not, but some of us are. And I think, my prayer is if there's a way to kind of get some type of support to provide, kind of like when he talks about this social experiment he's doing, it reminds me of what the housing first model that some people use, where basically, they say, okay, you're not sober, you don't have a job, you don't have your kids, you don't have this. Let's get you in a home. Let's get you somewhere, and then let's go from there. Then let's build. Let's just get you off the street, and then we'll build. We'll have goals. We'll have guidelines for benchmarks of when you should be, working with a 12-step program, or trying to get into counseling, or whatever different things that you do. And so sometimes just knowing that you have that roof over your head can, for some people, give them just a sense of peace of mind. Some people it won't. It's just a temporary stopgap before they go back to their, where they are.
Always, yeah.
Like Danny is saying here, it's more than just therapy. Parenting is step one. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack, and we can't save them all.
And then people have to want to do it. Like, it's not, it can't be based off of, oh, I want this for you. No, people have to want to do it themselves
They
in order
do.
to see any type of improvement anywhere.
Yes, they have to want it. And, and even when they want it, sometimes they're not.
There's going to be mess ups, yeah, but they got to still, keep going on trying to be better.
Yeah, making gradual steps towards something that's going to improve their lives.
Yeah.
And so that's why I want to give shout out to Stephanie Red for her working towards sobriety. She's working on a lot of her, mental health issues, and kind of unpacking, things she dealt with her parents, and, stuff like that. And I think that that's important, to kind of look at your past and try to understand certain things. And also I think keeping busy is helpful too, because sometimes when we have idle time, we can find ourselves falling back into those old habits.
Yeah. Definitely a change in environment does help, though.
It does. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming up. I'm actually going to go ahead and wrap up, because I have to get ready for a doctor's appointment.
It was a great live. I'm so proud of you, MGO. You need to keep doing it. Keep pushing it. I'm going to keep sharing you out, girl.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'm so grateful for everybody who came here. I think this is actually the most people I've ever had. I see like 92 I've ever had in my chat at once. But I just really, just wanted to kind of just come on and just talk with people. But I'll be sharing, I think I will kind of like take your advice and break the chapter up in pieces, and maybe like a part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, whatever, like just read it in pieces. No one else has to listen to it. And again, of course, no one has to listen to anything I share, but I just share stuff if it can help anyone. The other day I read, so I think I will continue to do so. And, just hopefully, I think I will do Lotus. I will let you know ahead of time, definitely. Thank you, Sunny. I see that you had dropped. But yeah, I think I will cover some of these topics. And anyone is welcome to be here. I'm also going to try to continue, like I interviewed Stephanie, and I'm going to interview some other people. I want to do a segment called Highlighting Everyday Advocacy, where people just share what they're doing to kind of like let people know what's going on in their lives and encourage other people. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I am very grateful for everything, you know, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm going to end the stream now. Bye.